All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into how some seriously clever businesses are using AI and data to just absolutely crush it.
Yeah, it's amazing to see, right?
Totally. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about real companies, real success stories here.
And the speed at which some of these transformations are happening, it's incredible.
Exactly. Like stuff that would have taken years before it is now happening like,
In months, weeks even.
yeah. Okay, let's kick things off with a story from the retail world. Picture this. You've got a clothing retailer, they've got brick and mortar stores, but online shopping is starting to,
Take a bite out of their
yeah,
business?
declining foot traffic, all that jazz.
It's a common problem.
Huge problem. So what do?
Well, this particular retailer, they got smart. They realized that online customers, they crave that personalized touch.
Right, that feeling of like the store gets me.
Exactly. So they decided to implement a recommendation engine.
Okay, recommendation, I mean, that makes sense. But what's so special about this one?
This one was powered by AI, specifically using something called collaborative filtering.
Collaborative filtering. Now that sounds fancy. Break that down for me.
Imagine you buy a blue sweater from this retailer.
Okay, got the sweater.
Now, the system, it looks at what other people who bought that same blue sweater also bought.
Interesting.
Maybe it's matching a scarves or a specific brand of jeans, you know?
So it's kind of connecting the dots between different shoppers.
Right, like people who bought this also loved, but way more precise.
Way smarter.
And then it recommends those things to you, making it way more likely you'll buy more stuff.
Ah, I see. So it's kind of like tapping into the wisdom of the crowd.
Exactly. And they didn't just stop at the recommendations.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. They wanted to make sure they could actually deliver on those recommendations.
Right, because what's the point of recommending stuff if it's out of stock?
Exactly. So they use real-time data to seriously streamline their supply chain.
Streamline meaning.
They made sure that what was in stores matched up with what was online, so everything was in sync.
Ah, so no more of that, oh, sorry, it's out of stock disappointment.
You got it. They actually reduced their stockouts by a whole 30%.
Wow, that's massive.
Huge. And to really seal the deal, they launched a loyalty app.
Okay, a loyalty app. Pretty standard these days, right?
Sure, but this one was different. It wasn't just about collecting points. It actually used behavioral analytics.
Behavioral analytics. Sounds intense. What is that?
It's basically understanding how you shop, like really understanding it.
Okay, so how does it work?
The app tracks what you browse, what you buy, when you do it, all that, and then bam, it sends you personalized offers based on your behavior.
So like if I keep looking at a certain pair of jeans but haven't bought them yet.
Boom, you get a little discount, nudging you towards those jeans.
I mean, sneaky, but I kind of like it. So did all this data wizardry actually pay off?
Oh, absolutely. Their online sales skyrocketed by 25% in just 6 months.
Whoa, that's insane.
Right. And their inventory turnover, which is basically how efficiently they're managing their stock, that improved by 15%.
Meaning?
They weren't sitting on a ton of unsold stuff. Everything was moving.
Okay, so that's a massive win for the retailer. But what's the takeaway for me, the average listener?
That even small, targeted tweaks using AI can make a huge difference. This wasn't some massively complex system. It was about solving specific problems.
Love that. So AI doesn't have to be this big, scary thing.
Nope. Now, speaking of solving problems, let's shift gears to a totally different industry, a global automotive parts manufacturer.
Okay, parts manufacturer, what were they struggling with?
They were getting absolutely slammed by constant machine breakdowns.
Ugh, machine breakdowns, every business owner's nightmare.
Right. I mean, talk about costly missed deadlines, unhappy customers, you name it.
Total mess.
Yeah, so they knew they had to get ahead of the game, and they decided to do it with something called predictive maintenance.
Predictive maintenance sounds pretty high tech, so how did it actually work for them?
They started by outfitting their most important machines with sensors.
Sensors to do what?
These sensors were constantly gathering data, like temperature, vibration, all the little clues that something might be off.
So basically giving the machines a constant checkup.
Exactly. But here's where things get really cool. That sensor data was feeding into a machine learning model.
Okay, machine learning model, I'm listening.
And this wasn't just any model. It was trained to spot those early warning signs of a potential part failure.
Wait, so it's not just seeing that a temperature is high, it's actually predicting that something's about to break.
You got it. Like,
Yeah.
hey, based on this pattern, that belt is going to snap in 3 days.
That's wild. So they're basically seeing into the future of their machines.
Pretty much. But here's the key. They didn't just rely on the AI alone. They understood the importance of the human element.
Right, because AI can't fix a broken belt.
Exactly. So they trained their staff, their maintenance crews, to interpret those AI alerts and take action.
So instead of waiting for something to break, they're proactively fixing things before they become a problem.
Brilliant, right. And the results, well, they were pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, hit me with the numbers.
They managed to reduce unexpected machine failures by a whopping 40%.
40%, that's incredible.
And with fewer breakdowns, their shipment delays plummeted by 50%.
Talk about efficiency. I bet their customers were ecstatic.
Oh, yeah. They went from being unreliable to basically the gold standard of dependability in their industry.
That's a pretty impressive turnaround.
Yeah.
But was it just about the numbers for them?
Actually, no, it gets even more interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Remember all that sensor data we talked about? Well, they didn't just keep it to themselves.
What do they do with it?
They created real-time dashboards that everyone in the company could see, from the factory floor workers to the executives up top.
So everyone had a clear view of what was happening with the machines.
Exactly. Total transparency across the entire operation.
I can see how that would lead to some amazing improvements in communication.
Oh, absolutely. Suddenly, everyone was on the same page, working together to prevent problems before they even happened.
That's awesome. Okay, let's switch gears again, this time to the world of finance.
All right, finance, always a fun one.
So for this story, we're focusing on a regional bank that was feeling the heat from, well,
From all those slick new digital banking apps,
yeah, it's tough to compete with those when you're a traditional bank. So what did they do to fight back?
they knew that customer experience was absolutely key in this battle, so they decided to bring in an AI-powered chatbot for customer support.
A chatbot. Okay, but what made this chatbot so special? We've all interacted with those clunky ones that are basically useless.
This one was different. For starters, it was available 24/7.
Ah, so no more waiting on hold during business hours. I like that.
Right. Plus, this chatbot could actually handle a surprisingly wide range of requests.
Like what?
Everything from checking your balance to reporting a lost card, even opening a new account.
So it was actually helpful, not just spitting out canned responses.
Exactly. And if the chatbot ever got stumped, it could seamlessly hand off the conversation to a human agent.
Ah, so no more repeating yourself over and over again.
Right. It was all about making the customer experience as smooth as possible.
Smart move.
Yeah.
But they didn't just stop at customer service, did they?
Nope. They knew that in the world of finance, security is paramount.
Yeah, you definitely don't want some rogue AI messing with people's money.
Absolutely not. So they brought in some serious firepower machine learning algorithms specifically designed to sniff out fraud.
Like a digital detective, but way faster and more efficient.
Exactly. These algorithms were constantly analyzing transaction patterns, looking for anything suspicious.
So nothing could slip past their watchful AI eyes.
Pretty much. And the results were impressive.
I'm ready for the good news.
Within just 3 months of implementing these changes, they saw customer churn drop by 15%.
So people were actually sticking around instead of jumping ship to those shiny new fintech apps.
You got it. They were proving that a traditional bank could still deliver a modern, seamless experience.
That's huge. Okay, but customer retention is one thing. Did it actually impact their bottom line?
Oh, yeah. By using AI to understand their customers better, they were able to start recommending products that people actually needed and wanted.
So more personalized product offerings.
Exactly. And guess what? They saw a 10% boost in new product sales, all thanks to the AI doing the heavy lifting.
Wow. So they're keeping customers happy and selling them more stuff. That's the dream.
It really is. But we can't forget about those fraud-busting algorithms. They were hard at work, too.
Okay, spill the tea. Do they actually catch any bad guys?
Oh, yeah. They saw a significant decrease in fraudulent activity across the board.
Talk about a win-win. They saved money and boosted customer trust at the same time.
Precisely. It really shows how powerful AI can be when it's used strategically.
It's amazing how quickly they were able to modernize their entire operation using AI. It's like they went from zero to hero overnight.
It's pretty impressive, right? And it just goes to show it's all about finding the right tools for the job.
So true. Okay, ready for another story?
Hit me with it.
This time, we're diving into the world of marketing with a small B2B agency.
All right, marketing. Now that's a field where AI is really making waves.
Big time. So what were these guys struggling with?
They were facing that classic marketing challenge, finding high-quality leads.
Ah, the eternal struggle finding those perfect customers.
Right. They were wasting a ton of time and resources chasing down prospects who were never going to convert.
And I bet their sales cycle is probably way too long as well.
You know it. It was taking them forever to close deals.
Painful. So how did they use AI to speed things up?
They decided to adopt an AI-powered lead scoring tool.
Okay, lead scoring. That sounds intriguing, but also kind of intimidating. Like, is that only for big companies with tons of tech resources?
Actually, no. The tool they chose was designed to be super easy to use, even for a small team.
So AI for the little guy, I love it. But how does lead scoring actually work?
It's pretty cool. Basically, the AI models analyze all the data you have on your potential customers.
Data like what?
Things like their industry, company size, what they've downloaded from your website, all that good stuff.
So it's building a profile of each lead.
Exactly. And then it spits out a score telling you how likely that person is to actually become a paying customer.
So it's like a crystal ball for sales, telling you who to focus
You
on.
got it. But here's the really smart part. They didn't just look at those scores and call it a day.
What else do they do?
They use those scores to trigger automated email follow-ups.
So instead of sending the same generic email blast to everyone, they're customizing their messaging.
Exactly. They were putting the right message in front of the right person at the right time.
Talk about efficiency. I bet their marketing team was thrilled to have the AI doing the heavy lifting.
Oh yeah, it freed them up to focus on more strategic tasks.
So it's not about replacing humans, it's about making their jobs easier and more effective.
Exactly. But there's another layer to the story that I think is really inspiring.
Okay, I'm all ears.
They didn't just implement this AI tool and call it a day. They decided to make data a part of their entire company culture.
So it wasn't just a one-off project, it was a total shift in their mindset,
Right. They started analyzing their marketing campaigns like crazy.
looking for what worked and what didn't.
Exactly. And then they shared those insights with the entire team.
So everyone was learning from the data and constantly improving.
Yep. They went from relying on gut feelings to making data-driven decisions.
That's a powerful transformation. So what kind of results did they see from all this?
Well, for starters, their lead conversion rate jumped by 20%.
20%.
Yeah.
So way more of those leads were actually turning into paying customers.
You got it. And remember that super long sales cycle they were struggling with?
Yeah, that was painful.
They managed to shave 2 whole weeks off of it.
That's incredible.
They were closing deals faster, which meant they were making money faster.
It's like a dream come true for any business.
Right. And it just goes to show that even a small agency can compete with the big dogs when they embrace AI and data the right way.
This is so inspiring. It's like you said earlier, AI doesn't have to be this big, scary thing. It's a tool that anyone can use.
Exactly. But before we get too carried away, I think it's important to take a step back and look at what all these success stories have in common.
You're right. There must be some key takeaways here that apply to any business, regardless of their industry.
Absolutely. So from what you've seen so far, what are some of the common threads running through these AI wins?
Well, for one, it seems like they all started with a very specific problem they wanted to solve.
That's a great observation. They weren't just throwing AI at the wall and seeing what stuck.
Exactly. They had a clear goal in mind.
Which is crucial. AI is not a magic bullet. It's a tool that needs to be used strategically.
And they weren't afraid to start small. It's not like they built some massive AI system overnight.
You're right. They experimented, they tested, they scaled up gradually.
It was a step-by-step process. What else? Oh, they all seem to really understand the importance of getting their employees on board with the changes.
Absolutely. People are at the heart of any successful AI implementation.
They invested in training, they communicated the why behind the changes, they made sure everyone felt comfortable.
That's so important.
And last but not least, they were all laser focused on the needs of their customers.
Yes.
Whether it was personalization in retail, reliable deliveries in manufacturing, or 24/7 support in banking, it was all about making the customer happy.
You've got a sharp eye. Those are all excellent observations.
Thanks.
You've really hit on some of the most important factors that contribute to AI success.
I'm feeling pretty good about my AI knowledge now.
You should. But there's one more crucial element we haven't talked about yet, the role of leadership.
Ah, yes, the human factor at the top. How does leadership contribute to these AI success stories?
Leaders need to be the champions of innovation. They set the tone, create a culture that embraces change, and most importantly, they empower their teams to experiment and learn from their mistakes.
So it's not enough to just buy some fancy AI software and hope for the best.
Definitely not. You need strong leadership to guide the way, to make sure that AI is being used effectively and ethically.
It's all starting to make sense now.
Good. It's a fascinating field, isn't it?
Totally. These stories are so inspiring. They prove that AI and data are not just buzzwords. They're powerful tools that can help businesses of all sizes thrive.
And the key is to start with a clear goal, focus on the customer, and be willing to experiment and adapt along the way.
I couldn't have said it better myself. But we've only just scratched the surface here.
We have a lot more ground to cover.
That's right. We've got so much more to unpack, so stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into the incredible world of AI and data. All right, so we've seen some pretty amazing examples of businesses using AI to, really level up their game.
Yeah, some really impressive stuff.
But I'm guessing some folks listening might be thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but where do I even begin?
That's a super common question. You're not alone.
It can feel kind of overwhelming, right? All this AI buzz. It's like, where do you even start?
Totally. But the good news is it doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing.
Okay, so let's say I'm a business leader. I'm intrigued by AI, but I'm not a tech whiz. What's my first step?
Your first step, easy. Start with a specific problem you want to solve.
Okay, so not just like, I want to use AI to improve my business. That's too broad.
Way too broad. You got to be laser focused, pick one area where AI can make a real difference.
So be more like, I want to use AI to reduce customer churn, or I want to use AI to optimize my supply chain.
Exactly. The more specific you can be, the better.
Okay, specific problem. Got it. What's next?
Data, my friend. Data.
Right. AI needs data to work its magic.
It's the fuel that powers the AI engine.
So do I need to go out and hire a team of data scientists to collect all this data?
Not necessarily. You might already have a goldmine of data sitting right there in your systems.
Really?
Oh, yeah. A lot of businesses do. The key is to organize it, clean it up, get it ready for AI.
So no more dusty spreadsheets with missing values and stuff.
Exactly. Clean data is crucial. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Makes sense. Okay, so once my data is all sparkly and clean, what's next?
Time to start exploring AI tools, and the good news is there are tons of options out there.
Okay, but that's kind of overwhelming too. How do I know which tool is right for me? It's like a million different choices.
It can feel that way, but don't worry. There are ways to navigate the AI jungle.
Like what?
Well, a lot of AI vendors offer free trials or demos, so you can test drive their solutions before committing.
Try before you buy. Smart.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help. There are consultants and experts who can guide you through the process.
So it's kind of like finding a good mechanic. You don't need to be an expert yourself, but you need someone you trust to, steer you in the right direction.
Perfect analogy. And the cool thing about AI is it's always evolving. You can start with a simple solution and then scale up as your needs change.
So it's a journey, not a destination. You don't have to have all the answers right away.
Exactly. And here's another key piece of advice. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try things out, see what works, and be willing to adjust your approach as you go.
I love that it takes the pressure off, you don't have to be perfect from day one.
Exactly. AI is all about learning and iterating.
This is encouraging. It sounds like anyone can dip their toes into the AI pool without needing a PhD in computer science.
You got it. AI is becoming more and more accessible every day.
But let's be realistic for a second. There must be some challenges too, right?
Of course, no technology is without its hurdles.
So what are some of the common roadblocks people hit when they're trying to implement AI?
Well, one of the biggest ones is simply knowing where to begin. The AI landscape can feel pretty overwhelming. All those options, all that jargon.
It's like trying to learn a new language.
Right, exactly. And just like learning any new language, it takes time, patience, and a willingness to make mistakes along the way.
And we talked about data quality before, garbage in, garbage out.
Crucial point.
So even if I find the perfect AI tool, if my data is a mess, it's not going to do much good.
Nope. Data preparation is often the most time-consuming part of any AI project.
And what about the talent gap? I've heard it's tough to find people with the skills to, build and manage AI systems.
That's a valid concern. There's definitely a shortage of AI talent out there.
So what's the solution?
Well, there are a few things you can do. You can invest in training your existing employees, partner with universities, or even consider outsourcing some of your AI work to specialized firms.
So even if I don't have a team of AI gurus in-house, there are still ways to access that expertise.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the nuts and bolts of implementing AI, but let's zoom out for a second and talk about the bigger picture.
The societal impact, you mean?
Exactly. We've been focusing on how businesses can use AI to get ahead, but what about the broader impact on society as a whole?
That's a huge question and a really important one.
I mean, AI is a powerful technology. It has the potential to transform our world in countless ways.
No doubt about it.
But I've heard some people say that AI will, take over our jobs, while others say it'll create all these amazing new opportunities we can't even imagine yet.
It's a complex issue, and there's no easy answer.
So what's your take on all this?
Well, if we look at history, technological advancements often lead to shifts in the job market, not necessarily outright job destruction.
Okay, so it's more about adaptation than, like, total replacement.
Exactly.
Like, remember when ATMs were first introduced?
Yeah, people thought bank tellers would become obsolete.
But that didn't happen.
Not at all. Their roles just evolved.
So instead of fearing AI, maybe we should focus on preparing for these changes, on making sure we have the skills to thrive in this new world.
I think that's a really healthy perspective.
But what about those jobs that AI can do more efficiently than humans? Like, what happens to those workers?
That's where things get tricky. We need to think about ways to support those who might be displaced by AI.
So, like, retraining programs, social safety nets, maybe even exploring new economic models like universal basic income.
All of those are important considerations. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the social and economic implications.
We need to be having these conversations now, before it's too late.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits all of humanity, not just a select few.
Couldn't agree more.
We need to think about fairness, equity, access, all those things.
It's a big responsibility, but it's one we all share.
And it's not just up to governments or tech companies to figure this out. It's going to take collaboration between businesses, researchers, policymakers, and everyday citizens.
It's a collective effort.
Just like those successful AI implementations we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
everyone needs to be on board, working together towards a common goal.
Exactly.
And while there are definitely challenges ahead, I'm feeling optimistic about the future.
Me too. There's so much potential here.
I mean, AI has the power to solve some of the world's most pressing problems, right? Like climate change, disease.
The possibilities are endless.
But it sounds like we need to approach AI with a sense of both wonder and caution.
I think that's the perfect way to put it. It's a powerful tool that can be used for good or for ill. The choices we make today will determine the kind of future we create.
That's deep. But before we get too philosophical, let's circle back to something a little more practical. We've talked about the big picture. But for those listeners who are ready to take action, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
One piece of advice. That's a tough one.
I'm sure you've got some words of wisdom to share. So for those ready to jump in, what's the best way to get started with AI?
You know, my advice would be don't be afraid to experiment.
Experiment meaning?
Like, don't think you have to build this huge, complex AI system right away.
Right, start small.
Exactly. Try out different tools. There are so many free or affordable ones out there.
So you can kind of test the waters before, diving in head first.
Exactly. And see what works for your business, what solves your specific problems.
That makes AI feel a lot less intimidating, like it's not just for those big tech companies.
Not at all. It's for everyone.
And the cool thing is, AI is always evolving, right?
Always. So it's a journey, not a destination.
I like that. It's not about having all the answers right away. It's about being open to learning and growing along the way.
100%. Stay curious, keep exploring. That's the key.
I'm feeling inspired.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been amazing. We've seen how businesses are using AI to solve real problems.
Yeah.
We've talked about the challenges, the big picture, and hopefully we've given our listeners some food for thought.
It's been a blast exploring all this with you.
Totally. And it's clear that AI is changing the world at lightning speed. Who knows what the future holds?
Exciting time.
For sure. Now, if you're feeling fired up about AI after listening to this, that's awesome. But if you're also feeling a little overwhelmed, like, where do I even begin? That's totally normal too.
It's a lot to take in.
AI is a complex topic, and it's constantly changing.
The learning never stops.
Right. So what would you say to those listeners who are eager to learn more, to keep up with this rapidly changing world?
Stay engaged, keep learning. There are so many resources out there.
Like what?
Online courses, podcasts, books, you name it.
Oh, yeah. And don't be afraid to connect with people who are working in the field. Ask questions. Learn from the experts.
Exactly. No one expects you to become an AI guru overnight. It's all about continuous learning.
So true. Well, this has been an incredible journey into the world of AI and data. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another fascinating topic.
Can't wait.
Until then, keep those minds curious and those ideas flowing.